So let's move to taxes.
Yeah.
Let's move to taxes, sorry.
Thank you for taking
No
taxes.
problem. I'll take taxes. Fantastic appearance, weird, in front of Congress. Talk a little bit about that and what do you, I'm not really clear what happened there. It's not clear.
Yeah, feel free to attack Congress here because no one will see this.
Right.
Nobody will see it.
Yeah.
You know, here's how I felt on this is the subcommittee was coming to certain conclusions, and we felt strongly that we looked at those very differently. And so I thought it was very important to go tell our story and to view that as an opportunity instead of a pain in the ass, and view it as an opportunity to try to act as a catalyst to get people to focus on what we felt the issues really were. And instead of just going and saying, you know, we think this is screwed up and that's screwed up and the other's screwed up, we came in with a proposal and said, you know, this is what we think should be done. We think we're not in here asking for tax breaks. We think we should do comprehensive reform, but it should be revenue neutral.
And when you just, if I might stop you, when you say that, you mean get rid of loopholes that are.
I don't think of it as a loophole. People call.
You use the word tax expenditures.
Tax expenditures, which some people use loosely called deductions, right?
Right.
And so, but I think for multinationals, the right approach would be simplicity. I mean, it's how we approach everything. It's how we approach products and most everything we do, is to just gut the code. It's 7,500 pages long. None of us could read it and make sense of it. Apple's tax return is 2 feet high. I mean, this is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So I would suggest we gut it, throw away all the tax expenditures, lower the rate, and then set a reasonable tax to bring offshore profits back to the U.S. I think that would be great for the U.S. I think it would be great for the U.S. because it
all right,
thanks.
Rand Paul. Okay.
it helps the U.S. economy. It grows the economy.
Really? Fine. We need to go on with the interview.
And so that's why. And so I thought it was important to both say what we're not. We don't use tax gimmicks.
Well, you take advantage of the tax as it stands, correct?
I don't see. I wouldn't use the word take advantage.
What word would you use?
We pay.
What word would you use
30.
for some of the financial machinations are because of the tax system.
To average citizens, these look like gimmicks. I understand what you mean, that you're being sincere.
No, I'm very sincere on this.
But the code has, as you pointed out, it's very long, it's convoluted, it's difficult to understand, but that's partly because the lobbyists for companies, possibly, I don't know, including Apple, have lobbied over the years for various things.
Yes, and it's
that make this very complicated. And in some of those things, allow companies, most of them, allow companies to pay less than what's on the sort of, front of the tax bill. This is the corporate tax rate.
It's a Band-Aid and paperclip kind of thing, and over the years, Congress has kept Band-Aiding it.
At the urging of corporate lobbyists.
No doubt. Instead of sort of saying it's time to trash it and go back to something simple and restart. We paid 30.5%, our effective rate in the U.S. is 30.5. I don't know where everybody else is. There's not a ranking of this sort of thing. But my guess is it's one of the highest effective rates. And we pay $6 billion, and that is the highest in the U.S. We pay more taxes than anybody. And so we're not in there saying we should pay less. In fact, I said, I think if you implement what we're suggesting, we may wind up paying a little more. But what we would get for that is we would have unlimited ability to pull our capital back offshore, and I think that would be great for the United States.
And what's this whole Irish thing?
Yeah.
The Irish thing,
I want you to actually
it's a good
explain
question.
in simple terms what you did there, for what you had to do there, either moving the patents in. Could you walk everybody through what you did there?
What we did in Ireland.
Right.
Oh, yeah, sure. Let me start by saying, let me try to answer Walt's question. I've seen something in the press that says that some people think that we have a deal with the Irish, a special deal with the Irish government to pay a 2% flat tax rate. We have no special deal with the Irish government that gives us a 2% flat tax rate. So let me just set that aside. Now, what did we do? I believe, based on the hearing, that simplistically, the thing that's being debated, there's a lot of terminology, et cetera, but without going through that, the basic thing that's being debated is for a company like Apple or any other company that sells things across the world and develops them in the United States, which is what we do. Almost all of our development is in the United States. Some people believe that all of the profits all around the world should accrue to the U.S. and be taxed in the U.S. What Apple did back in 1980, which is similar to what every multinational company that I know of does, is back when, right after Steve formed the company, I think it was the year it went public, there was a deal between the U.S. company and the Irish company. The Irish company invested money in R&D.
The Irish company is owned by you, though.
It was owned by Apple, but this meets the IRS standards and everything, so it's nothing nefarious by any means. I mean, you can read it in the rule book. And so you basically have two entities contributing money to develop product, and then each of those sell products within their regions. And they either accrue the losses, if there are losses associated with that, or they accrue the rewards, if there's rewards. Well, over that period of time, I mean, you guys know Apple, there were periods of time where both people were losing tons of money, and now there are times when both are making tons of money. And so there are some people that look at that and say, there's no issue with that, including the IRS. There's no issue with that. There's others that say, hey, it was developed in the U.S., and so all of the profits need to accrue to the U.S.
Yeah, you print it right on the back, so.
The problem with that, guys, is that if everything developed in the U.S. is going to be taxed here on worldwide profits, I worry about where development will be. Because, I mean, we're in the fortunate position that we don't have to always make an economic decision in what we do. But companies that just make an economic decision, I'm very worried that a policy that suggests that if development isn't done here, or if it is done here, it's taxed, all taxed here, this would not be good for jobs in the US. And so one of the things I wanted to do last week was make certain that people are thinking through the logical next steps of such a move.
And were you surprised that that they asked you a bunch of, questions that you would expect a committee investigating stuff to ask, and then they started a love fest? I mean, what was that?
I didn't.
Did you give them all free stuff, or I mean, what happened?
No, I didn't feel it was a love fest. I know that was sort of came out in the media, but sitting in the.
She said, "I love you." No, I really love you.
Yeah, I mean, what do you mean came out in the media? It was like,
But no,
several
what I'm saying
of them
is
said it, not just one.
Sitting in a witness chair, you don't necessarily have that feeling. It's a little different feeling when you're sitting there. But I think it was great to be a part of the process, great to tell our story. I hope that it winds up helping the reform question.